Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing, Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be talking about haunted Halloween history. Because after all, this is spooky season. It is October 29th, and we are approaching October 31st, Halloween. One of my favorite times of year, by the way, and I hope that many of you all are. And I suspect that you are, since you tend to be attracted to the paranormal and the occult. It all kind of connects in a way. Before I begin, I just want to remind you that I have an attunement store. So if you are interested in leveling up your life, reaching your goals, then you might consider getting a connection to a spirit or an entity, god, goddess, angel, or some other type of entity. I recently added High John the Conqueror to my store, and I just added today Apollo, the Greek god. So if you are interested in that, and you are interested in enhancing your musical ability, enhancing your ability to do divination, prophecy, he's even used and his energy is used in love spells, since he is one of the most handsome and attractive gods of the Greek pantheon, the god of the sun. So check that out. I'll put a link in the description to my Etsy store. And of course, you are always welcome to become part of my inner circle on my Patreon. Okay, so on to today's topic, haunted Halloween history. Okay, so do y'all celebrate Halloween? Let me say that. Um, if so, how do you do it? I know I remember, and I have very fond memories of, uh, you know, going to various stores and trying to find just the perfect Halloween costume when I was little. And it was, something that really had to grab you, that I really had to enjoy. And back then, they had these really heavy costumes. They were actually really hot. Um, I look at the costumes nowadays, and it's a little bit better, but as things evolve, things change. And then on October 31st at night, I go out with my friends and family, and into the darkness we went. And sometimes, if the weather was permitting, you even add a little bit of spookiness to it, especially if the wind produced kind of like a cold chill. And maybe it was overcast so you couldn't see the stars and it was dark. And you were walking around and all of your friends were dressed up, walking around. And I always had watched horror movies leading up to it, and I still do. It's kind of like a tradition. 30 days before Halloween, I get in the spirit. That's how I do it, and I've been doing that since I was little. And going around trick-or-treating, going to houses and collecting candy from generous strangers. It was a good time. I hope you all had a good time if y'all were ever trick-or-treaters. Nowadays, we're adults. I was watching, not really watching, I was looking at Facebook, and they had this little meme that said, they had like one of those plastic pumpkins full of candy, and it says like take one, and it says if you're over 21, knock on the door, and they showed someone in a Halloween costume giving out those little bottles of liquor like tequila and bourbon and all those other types of things. So that's a pretty good it's a pretty good setup because adults taking their kids out, they need to get into the spirit too, and maybe there's the stress of bringing all their kids out. In any case, that was my experience with trick or treating. But Halloween as a holiday itself, excuse me, it's most popular in the U.S. and Canada, but it's also popular in Japan and Mexico, especially in Ireland, which is where Halloween basically came from, the whole source. Halloween, which means All Hallows Eve, was coincided with, it comes from the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, pagan festival. And during Samhain, it was a big party. People would gather in Ireland. They would have bonfires. They would feast. They would um, open burial mounds so that, because they believed that there'll be a portal between the dead and the living, and they'll kind of allow them to be kind of unleashed into the world. And they believed that at that time the veil between the living and the dead was the thinnest, so that one could more easily talk to and communicate with their loved ones who had passed into the spirit world. It was actually much easier to do that. So you might want to check that out, try it out to see if that is the case on October 31st. It's also, to them, it was more than that. It was a seasonal type of time because it was the end of one season and the beginning of the winter. It was the end of the harvest, I believe, and the beginning of winter. It also was the beginning of the dark half of the year, and it marked the beginning of or should I say, it was the transition from the old Celtic year to the new one, which was not based on kind of a solar month, but like we are, but a lunar month. Also, spooky season is not just about Halloween, of course. There are other holidays that are kind of surround Halloween. For example, the other holidays are things like on November 1st, All Saints' Day in the Roman Catholic liturgical calendar, which is when Catholics, they honor the saints that were living and passed on and who went to heaven. Also, there is between, of course, October 31st and November 2nd, there's the Day of the Dead, the Mexican holiday, where it kind of honors the dead, saying that that death is real, and that it marks a beginning, and that at that time they can kind of return. So there are a lot of offerings and things during the Day of the Dead to those people who passed on. And then finally, on November 2nd, there's All Souls Day. All Souls Day is another Roman Catholic holiday where one prays and honors for the deceased, especially those that are in purgatory, that in between realm between heaven and hell, to kind of help them in that state. Okay. I hope that you enjoyed this video, enjoyed a little bit of the history surrounding spooky season and some of the religious holidays. Just wanted to remind you that check out the link in the description if you are interested in attunement, or for my Patreon, where you get extra videos, extra content, as well as other bonuses. So on that note, friends, and if I didn't mention it, my mind is a little scattered. I'm having an attunement, at the Etsy attunement sale. So if you are interested in that, then please look into it. On that note, please subscribe and like, and I will talk to you in a future video. Take care. Have fun.